The sun hung low over the hidden leaf village, casting long shadows across the training grounds where Naruto Uzumaki stood, his breath steady, his blue eyes sharp with focus. The wind rustled through his orange jacket as he tightened the straps of his forehead protector, the symbol of his unwavering resolve. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha leaned against a tree, his Sharingan flickering with restrained power, while Sakura Haruno cracked her knuckles, her chakra-enhanced fists humming with energy. The trio had faced countless threats, but the air today carried a tension unlike anything they'd felt before. Rumors had spread like wildfire through the shinobi world, whispers of a figure cloaked in darkness, a being who wielded sage energy twisted by malice. They called him the Dark Kin, a forgotten descendant of the ancient sages, one who had embraced the void left by the Otsutsuki clan's fall. His goal was simple: to consume all natural energy, leaving the world a lifeless husk. The Five Cage had convened in secret, their faces grim as they relayed the threat to Naruto and his team. "This isn't just another enemy," the Raikage had growled. "This is a force that could unravel the very fabric of our world." Naruto clenched his fists, his mind racing. He had mastered Sage Mode years ago, harnessing the energy of Mount Myaboku to augment his strength. But the Dark Kin's power was different, corrupted, insatiable. "We can't let him get to the other tailed beasts," Naruto muttered, his voice low with determination. Kurama's growl echoed in his mind. "This one reeks of hatred, kid. Be careful." The first sign of the Dark Kin's arrival was the sudden silence. The birds stopped singing. The wind died. Then, the ground trembled as a fissure split the training field open, and from the depths emerged a figure wreathed in swirling shadows. His pale skin was etched with jagged, black markings, his eyes glowing like smoldering embers. "Naruto Uzumaki," the Dark Kin hissed, his voice like grinding stone. "The last beacon of hope. How fitting that I extinguish you first." Without hesitation, Naruto surged forward, his body blurring with speed as he formed a Rasengan in his palm. The Dark Kin didn't flinch. Instead, he raised a hand, and the very air around Naruto thickened, slowing his advance. "Pathetic," the Dark Kin sneered before flicking his wrist. A wave of dark energy erupted, hurling Naruto backward. Sasuke's Sharingan spun as he intercepted, his Chidori screeching to life. He lunged, lightning crackling around his hand, but the Dark Kin twisted midair, evading the strike with unnatural grace. A tendril of shadow lashed out, wrapping around Sasuke's arm. The Uchiha gritted his teeth as the darkness seeped into his skin, sapping his strength. Sakura didn't wait. With a thunderous leap, she brought her fist down, cratering the earth where the Dark Kin had stood, but he was already behind her. "Your brute strength is meaningless," he taunted before driving a shadow-clad fist into her spine. Sakura gasped, her body slamming into the ground. Naruto roared, his eyes shifting to golden slits as Sage Mode activated. The natural energy surged through him, and he launched a barrage of shadow clones, each one wielding a Rasengan. The Dark Kin merely chuckled, his body dissolving into smoke as the clones struck nothing but air. Then, from the smoke, a monstrous hand shot out, gripping Naruto by the throat. The Dark Kin's form had shifted, his limbs elongated, his skin cracking to reveal pulsating darkness beneath. "You cling to your borrowed power," he spat, his grip tightening. "But I am the void that consumes all." Naruto's vision swam as the darkness crept into his veins, but just as his strength waned, a kunai embedded itself in the Dark Kin's wrist. The grip loosened, and Naruto dropped to his knees, coughing. Standing atop a nearby boulder, Kakashi Hatake lowered his headband, revealing his Mangekyo Sharingan. "You're not the only one with tricks," he said coolly. The Dark Kin snarled, yanking the kunai free as his wound sealed instantly. "More insects to crush," he muttered, his body erupting into a storm of shadowy tendrils. The battle had only just begun, and the fate of the shinobi world hung in the balance. The air crackled with tension as Naruto Uzumaki stood atop a shattered cliff, his cerulean eyes locked onto the shadowy figure before him. The sage's Dark Kin, a being of pure malice and ancient power, loomed like a storm-given form, his cloak rippling with unseen energy. Around them, the battlefield was a ruin of upturned earth and smoldering craters, evidence of their earlier clashes. Naruto's fists clenched, his knuckles white, as he felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. This wasn't just another fight, this was a battle for the very soul of the shinobi world. The Dark Kin smirked, his crimson eyes gleaming with amusement. "You're struggling, child. The sage's blood runs thin in you." His voice was a venomous whisper, slithering through the air like a blade. Naruto gritted his teeth, refusing to yield. "I don't need his blood to beat you," he shot back. "I've got my own strength." With a roar, he lunged forward, his body blurring into motion. The dark kin barely flinched, raising a hand as black tendrils erupted from the ground, lashing toward Naruto like serpents. Naruto twisted midair, flipping over the attack, and slammed a Rasengan into the dark kin's chest. The impact sent shockwaves tearing through the earth, but the enemy barely staggered, his form flickering like smoke. Before Naruto could react, a fist hammered into his ribs, sending him skidding across the battlefield. Pain flared, but he forced himself to his feet, his mind racing. He's fast. Faster than anything I've faced. Nearby, Sasuke Uchiha materialized in a swirl of black flames, his Sharingan spinning furiously. He's using space-time ninjutsu, Sasuke muttered, his voice tight. Every attack phases through him unless he lets it land. Naruto wiped blood from his lip. Then we hit him from all sides at once. Sasuke nodded, and in an instant, they moved, Naruto creating shadow clones while Sasuke's Susanoo flared to life, a skeletal arm forming around him. The dark kin chuckled as clones swarmed him, each one striking with Rasengans that he effortlessly dodged or dissipated. But then Sasuke's Susanoo blade cleaved through the air, forcing the enemy to twist aside, only for Naruto's real body to appear above him, a massive Rasen Shuriken spiraling in his palm. The attack connected, detonating in a vortex of wind and chakra that swallowed the dark kin whole. For a moment, it seemed like victory was within reach. Then the dust cleared, revealing the dark kin standing unharmed, his body wreathed in an aura of crackling darkness. Cute, he sneered. But you'll need more than cheap tricks. His hand shot forward, and a wave of black energy surged outward, obliterating everything in its path. Naruto and Sasuke barely dodged, their bodies straining under the sheer force of the attack. Naruto's mind raced. We're not strong enough yet. He exchanged a glance with Sasuke, and without words, they understood. It was time to push beyond their limits. Naruto's skin burned as Kurama's chakra surged through him, his cloak flaring into its full nine tails form. Sasuke's Rinnegan pulsed, his Susanoo evolving into its final, armored state. Together, they charged, their movements synchronized like a deadly dance. The dark kin's amusement faded as their combined assault forced him back for the first time. Naruto's tailed beast bomb collided with Sasuke's Amaterasu flames, creating an explosion that shook the heavens. But the enemy wasn't done. With a snarl, he unleashed his true power, his body splitting into multiple shadowy duplicates, each one as lethal as the original. The battle became a whirlwind of destruction, the earth trembling under their clashes. Naruto's clones were torn apart one by one, but he refused to relent, his spirit burning brighter with every strike. Sasuke's sword clashed against the dark kin's shadowy blade, sparks flying as their wills collided. You're nothing but echoes of the past, Sasuke spat. The dark kin's grin widened. And yet, we are the future. Just as despair threatened to take hold, a familiar voice rang out. Need a hand? Sakura Haruno landed beside them, her fists glowing with chakra. Behind her, the rest of Konoha's finest emerged, Shikamaru's shadow snaking forward, Lee's gates bursting open, and Hinata's Byakugan sharpening. The dark kin's confidence wavered for the first time. Fools. Numbers mean nothing. But Naruto grinned, his resolve unshaken. Yeah? Then let's prove you wrong. With a final, deafening roar, the shinobi of Konoha launched their ultimate assault, their combined might shaking the very foundations of the world. The climax was upon them, and only one side would emerge victorious. The air crackled with chakra, thick enough to taste, as Naruto and Sasuke stood back to back, their breaths ragged. The battlefield was a wasteland of shattered earth and smoldering ruins, the remnants of their desperate struggle against the sage's dark kin, a being born from the shadows of the Sage of Six Paths himself. His name was Kurotsuki, and his power eclipsed anything they'd faced before. His obsidian cloak billowed like ink in water, his eyes twin voids that drank in the light. You cling to hope like children, Kurotsuki sneered, his voice a whisper that slithered into their bones. But this world's fate was sealed the moment I awakened. Naruto's knuckles whitened around Kurama's hilt, the golden chakra blade flickering as his resolve wavered. He could feel the Nine Tails' exhaustion, their combined energy nearly spent. Beside him, Sasuke's Rinnegan pulsed weakly, his Sharingan strained from overuse. They were running on fumes, but surrender wasn't an option. We've beaten guys who talked big before, Naruto growled, forcing a grin. You're just another jerk to knock down. Kurotsuki lunged, his movements a blur of darkness. Naruto barely raised his blade in time, the impact sending shockwaves through his arms. Sasuke teleported behind their foe, his sword aimed for Kurotsuki's spine, but the dark kin twisted midair, his shadowy tendrils lashing out like whips. Sasuke barely dodged, but one grazed his ribs, drawing blood. He hissed, landing beside Naruto. "He's fast," Sasuke muttered. "Faster than Kaguya." Naruto's mind raced. They needed something new, something beyond their limits. He remembered Jiraiya's words, "True power isn't just strength, it's the will to keep going when everything's lost." With a roar, Naruto channeled the last dregs of Kurama's chakra, his body erupting in a radiant orange glow. "Sasuke, now!" Sasuke understood. His Rinnegan flared as he summoned the full might of his Susanoo, the spectral warrior's wings unfurling like a storm. Together, they charged, Naruto's Rasen Shuriken spinning violently in his palm while Sasuke's sword crackled with black lightning. Kurotsuki met them head-on, his own dark energy coalescing into a monstrous claw. The collision sent a shockwave that ripped the earth apart, the force hurling all three backward. Naruto skidded across the ground, his vision swimming. He could feel Kurama fading, their bond flickering. No. Not yet. He clawed his way up, his body screaming in protest. Across the field, Sasuke wasn't faring any better, his Susanoo was crumbling, his chakra nearly depleted. Kurotsuki staggered but stood, his form wavering like smoke. "Pathetic," he spat. "You've given everything. And it still isn't enough." Then, a voice echoed in Naruto's mind, Hagoromo's. "You've forgotten the true power of the sage's legacy," the ancient sage murmured. "It was never just chakra. It was the bonds that shaped destiny." Naruto's eyes widened. Bonds. That was it. He reached out, his hand trembling. "Sasuke. One last time." Sasuke met his gaze, and without a word, he clasped Naruto's hand. Their chakras intertwined, swirling into a vortex of gold and violet. The ground beneath them glowed with ancient seals, the power of the sage's lineage awakening. Kurotsuki's eyes widened in genuine fear. "No. You can't." The world exploded in light. Naruto and Sasuke became a single force, their combined energy manifesting as a colossal avatar of pure will, a fusion of Kurama's might and Susanoo's fury. With a final, earth-shattering strike, they drove their attack straight through Kurotsuki's core. The dark kin screamed as his body disintegrated, his darkness unraveling like thread. Silence fell. The storm clouds parted, revealing a blood-red sunset. Naruto collapsed to his knees, Sasuke barely catching himself on one arm. It was over. In the aftermath, the world breathed again. Villages began rebuilding, alliances reforged stronger than before. Naruto and Sasuke's battle had proven something, not just to their enemies, but to themselves. They'd faced oblivion and won. But as Naruto looked at the horizon, he knew this wasn't the end. New threats would come. New battles. But for now, they'd earned this moment of peace. Sasuke exhaled, wiping blood from his lip. "You're still an idiot," he muttered. Naruto laughed, weak but genuine. "Yeah. But I'm your idiot." And for the first time in years, Sasuke smirked. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear, whatever came next, they'd face it together.